My Pop Norman, he was a hero of a man. Despite the challenges of being thrown deep into the jungles of Papua New Guinea, where he contended with enemy forces and blood-poisoning mosquitoes, he much preferred to yarn about that elusive fish, the one that got away, than recount his selfless fight for the freedom of our kin and country. As a young one, I was continually energised by an unbridled joie de vivre, a kind of superpower that showed me why Pop was most himself when yarning about the one that got away. He much preferred these yarns rather than recounting the battles that he'd fought. Whether dancing the sidestep with sun-basking brownies, brown snakes, or plunging our toes so deeply into seabed's silty shelf to resist current's will. Together we did on country. Despite the uncertainty of what lay ahead, we joyously journeyed on country. Realising country as our place of freedom showed me what Pop had fought for. Knowing freedom in this way ultimately revealed me. Feet encased in dried banksia husks, I waded unknowingly through the endless bush. Paspalum seeds stuck in our shirts, pampas grass cut our legs and arms, and the sticky, sweet, cloyed air was odorous from untamed wattle and blossoming gums. Spiders in their well-woven webs served as guardians against irreverent intruders venturing too far into the depths of country. Honouring these natural barriers, we respectfully trod without leaving a trace of our presence. Too rough for most young feet, I transcended the canopy of gums high enough to reach the lowest clouds and part them with my fingertips. As I was lifted to safety, I felt the stubble of experience, smelled the salty, well-worn smell of an aged fisherman who was constantly refreshed by the dark, unknown depths of ocean. From the age of 3, I recall the lilting tone of his voice. I can still trace the lines of laughter that well defined his face as a result of the yarns he repeatedly spun. The more fervent the yarn about the one that got away, the larger this mystical fish grew, and despite Pop's highly accomplished fishing skills of, a century, it felt like, half a century to be honest, he would spend more time tangoing with heel-nibbing eels and toe-tickling muddies than coming eye to eye with the majestical one that got away. Through night's constant hum of darkness, we could hear the roar of the ocean enticing us to her edge. Our spontaneous response to her call was as much instinct as it was trust in her to lead us beyond what we could see. The tossing thunder of the unknown swell, the unpredictable strength that the most experienced could not control, tempted our souls and made us addicts of the deep. Perched securely on Pop's shoulders and guided only by a fuller-than-not moon, together we'd venture out into the depths of sea country in search of the big one. I was very young when I learned that you don't need your feet firmly on the ground to realise resolute steadfastness. Each step that Pop took reaffirmed how courageous he was. Moving beyond the depths of toe-reaching safety, he kept my head above water by treading water for both of us, a noteworthy display of athleticism, essential for attaining the longest cast. At these times I felt well beyond the depths of my understanding, but as I grew older, I saw how Pop's judicious humility strengthened his trust in country. A lesson that revealed how real courage cannot exist without prudence and good judgment. Seeing Pop's lack of fear in deep, dark waters, well beyond the security of his reach, persuaded me that his occasional recitation, "Don't ever turn your back on the ocean," was less sage advice for all to heed and more a well-rehearsed mantra to ease my parents' worries about us swimming with sharks more than twice his size. It is also a well-known fact that any 5-year-old is unstoppable. And when fueled with my exuberance for adventure, my imagination quickly convinced me that I indeed was invincible. As sea country was bigger than the sum of my lived experience, I had never contemplated that one night I would realise Pop's wisdom. I was never a strong runner, and so when forced to run an underwater marathon, treading water against the riptide magnitude of ocean, I found myself in unfamiliar country, utterly out of my depth, overtaken by fear, caught in a vortex of despair. I plummeted toward a black abyss. Head underwater, blinded by the tumultuous pitch-black churning of water, I braved the eye-stinging salinity of the sea's voracious swell, vainly trying to find my bearings. Spiralling down, caught in the dense, interwoven tendrils of ribbonweed, I was utterly trapped. The more I struggled, the tighter strapweeds grasped, dragging me inexorably toward my fate. The harder I thrashed, the more I became totally bound, totally exhausted, and quickly succumbing to the will of country. I realised that my struggle was futile and that my volition counted for little against the authority of country. In that moment of epiphanous self-knowing, my frantic treading dissolved into a profound clarity. As breath returned to me, so too did an awakening. Guided by nothing other than the deep wisdom of saltwater sea ancestors, my naive feet clung tightly to the arenaceous beads of Stingray as the soul-clasping magnetism of her ancient leathered skin connected us as one. Synthesizing erratic, syncopated seas of change, her fins intuitively traced waves' unpredictable peaks and troughs as we navigated undulating rhythms of the deep, and together realized innate equilibrium as country. Sea's unrivaled authority should never be assumed. Aware of being able to draw breath again, I inhaled deeply and realized my growing sense of wonder at being uplifted above a seabed by a majestic stingray, protector of serpentinite melange. Together, in perfect synchronicity, we danced to the ebb and flow of tides' undulating rhythms, each oscillating motion illuminating the strength and wisdom of my protector. Listening deeply, I awakened to the life force of sea country, my adrenaline surging as though struck by red sprite lightning, my spirit uplifted through a resonant covalence with saltwater country. Wordless, stunned by what emerged around me, this growing consciousness would define my life as an adult.